Hey folks, John with Complete Technology Solutions, your friend in the computer business. All right guys, so today, you know how it is when you're building a game machine. It's real easy to go out there and blow thousands of dollars on a machine. Hell, you can blow thousands of dollars on a video card. But today, we're going to see if we can build something that will run modern day games, but not break the bank. Here we go. All right, guys, so what inspired me to make this video, the other day I was running on Amazon. I was just kind of screwing around on there, and I ran across a 4th gen HP Z230. Now, this has got the i7-4790 in it, which means you're dealing with a 4 gigahertz processor, and they were selling it stripped down, so it has the power supply, motherboard, and processor for $50. And it got me to thinking, wait a minute. If we pair this with the right equipment, we could build a very inexpensive machine. So, this is a Vega 64. Guys, this used to be a $500 card. Now, $50 on eBay. So right now, you got $100 in these two items. Well, the problem is the power supply that comes in these is a 230 watt. We need more boost than that to run this. It's got to have at least a 700. So, we picked up one of these Aresgame's 750 watt power supplies for $30. Okay, so we got $130 here, all right? The RAM was stripped out of it, so we're going to go with 16 gigs of RAM. Now, this is DDR3. Honestly, guys, for the price I paid for this, no joke, $17. I will probably go ahead and throw another 16 in here and have 32 gigs of RAM. There's no reason not to. So, but $17, all right? So what are we at, 147? You have to have one of these little adapters. This adapter, and I'm going to show this to Stumpy, allows you to take a standard 24-pin power supply down to the 20-pin that is built onto this motherboard. And you'll understand why as soon as we crack this case open. Once again, $8. Now, hard drives. You guys remember the game systems? And if you didn't see that last video I did, I'll toss a link up here for you. In those game systems, there was a 128 gig stick. It's an M.2, but it's actually a SATA. And I installed it, or pulled it out of the system so that I could put a 1 terabyte into the game systems that are out there. That left me with a 128 gig pre-formatted Windows 10 disk. All I did is put this into an $11 caddy, which, by the way, I will throw down in the description. And this is a 2 terabyte solid state. Guys, double solid state hard drives, primary operating system, all your software. We got out of this entire build for under $200. Let's put it together and see what it does. So what we're going to do, guys, I want to crack this open together. I'm going to get this power supply out. I know this is semi-modular, and that was something that was kind of important to me, obviously for cabling, but in that, who cares? It's going to be covered up and concealed anyway. All right. And I love these big old cigar wrap things they put these power supplies in. All right, so we got the Aresgame AGV 750, and as expected, it is a semi-modular. So you've got the actual cables that go down to the motherboard. You got the cables that go down to the actual CPU. Everything else you're going to connect up here for PCI Express, hard drive cables, anything else you need. In here also, you've got a bag that's got your other connections for the other 2 ports on there for hard drives, PCI Express, so on and so forth. And you've got your power cable in here and a user manual. Hold on a minute. Plug in, turn on. Got it. Okay, so let's get this out of the way here. And I picked a 750 watt. The Vega 64 requires a 700 watt processor. The truth is, if I had gone to the Z420 model of this, which you can still get out there also, the power supply that's built into that is a 650 watt, and then bump this down to an RX 580, we would have been able to do that probably about the same cost, just a little bit less graphics power. But once again, if you're playing some of the new games, you're going to need that graphics power. So, all right, here's the kicker. In order to get this in here, we're going to have to pull out this old power supply, and it will not mount up directly. Let me show you why. Are you guys seeing? This is a proprietary power supply that's in here, which means that the screw holes are absolutely not going to line up with an aftermarket power supply. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care if we have a little gap on the bottom and a little gap on the top, because honestly, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's about performance. This is going to sit. This may actually end up being the new gaming machine for this channel. So we'll be running some tests on it throughout the life of the gaming on this channel, at least until we build another machine. So, all right, let's crack this side open and see what we've got in here. And sure enough, as advertised, that is pretty stripped down, guys. There's nothing in here except for the motherboard, CPU. All the cabling is in place, and we do actually have the CD-ROM drive, but that in itself could present an interesting issue because of this plug. I have a solution for that, though. See, that tiny little plug right there is what feeds power up here instead of using a standard SATA power cable. So what we're going to do is, I already have a solution for that. We're not even going to have to worry about that. All right. So let's go ahead and let's get this old power supply out of here. And one other thing that I absolutely hate about HPs is the fact that instead of using a standard screw, and I'll try to show Stumpy this, they're going to use these little Torx heads on this thing. So you better believe we're going to take care of that. All right, let me get this power supply out of here. Be right back with you. All right, guys, so as you can see, we've actually got this case opened up here. Now, one thing I noticed is the power connection that was going to this DVD drive was actually a very small, and I'll show you this on here. It looks like a SATA connection. So instead of using one of the larger power adapters that you would have on one of your power cables, it was using a little small connector on here. Now, ordinarily, guys, I wouldn't worry about this. I would just put it in line with like a male-male splitter here. But the truth is, I don't load anything from DVD, so I'm not even going to install that right now. So we're not going to worry too much about that. But as you can see, everything we've got in here, we've already got the processor mounted. Motherboard is good. We're all nice and clean in here and ready to go. Now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to try to mount this power supply in just a second. Before we do that, we're going to be using this Timetec RAM in here. This is the 8 gigs for 16 gig total of DDR3. And it was compatible with this board. That was my primary concern. I wanted to make sure that it was going to work with it. So we'll go ahead and get that installed right here. And I'm going to do this before we get the power supply in and get everything in the way here, because that video card is going to consume a ton of space in here, as you can probably tell. And I was a little concerned with it interfering with the front side USB 3, but I don't think that's going to be a problem based on where the card is going to sit here. By the way, if you'll look, guys, you'll see that's that 20-pin connector I was talking about. You see how small that thing is? So if you compare it to a standard power cable, look how much difference that is. I mean, there's a huge difference in the size of that cable. So, all right, let's go ahead and let's get our power mounted up here. Get our power supply in place. Now, guys, once again, there's no way that this fits and lines up, and I'm going to try to show Stumpy this, with the back there. You see that? There's no way to get those holes to line up because they flat don't line up. So the only option is to try to find one that you can line up as close as possible. Normally, I'll either try to align to the top or the bottom of the case here, guys. You can see that. And there, as you can see, you can get one lineup on one hole in the corner if you mount it high. Then the best thing you can do is try to get in a couple of them sideways. So tell you what, let me get this mounted in here. I'll mount at that position, and I'll be right back. All right, guys, you can see I've got this mounted up in here. I was actually able to hit 1, 2, and 3 of the actual mounting holes. And you can tell you're on a slight bit of an angle here because of the way this is at. This is actually going through one of the fins and it's hitting this metal. So, but guys, honestly, I wouldn't even need the 4th power supply. I could literally move my whole desk off that one. So I might try to realign it just a little bit because of the way this top one is sitting. But honestly, that looks pretty good to me. We're not even going to mess with it because right now we're thinking economy and we're thinking functional. That's what we're looking at. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's get our motherboard connected up. And to do that, we need that adapter cable. And once again, guys, this is very, very simple. You're just going to plug this into here, and that converts it down to the 20 pin on the other side. So it's real straightforward. I've done a few of these without any problem at all. So I know for a fact that this functions. And frankly, I'm glad that the option is there, because these things, as you can imagine, can get kind of difficult to, when you're dealing with proprietary stuff, to do any kind of upgrades on them whatsoever. So, all right, we're going to need us some zip ties. Let's get some zip ties up here. All right, and let's clean up this gigantic monster cable here, because it does tend to get in the way. All right. Yeah, we'll go right there. It should be fine. Okay, so zip tying that down, just to kind of get it out of the way, guys. We're not doing any major cable cleanup right now. The whole goal here is functional and cheap. Keep that in mind. So we're not trying to make something that's super powerful, and we're not trying to make something that is the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. Functional and inexpensive is what we're shooting for. All right, so we're going to move that up here, and actually we might be able to get away with using this existing cable management on this just by going through there. Yeah, look at that. That'll hold that back and out of the way. That actually worked out really well, guys. Check that out. All right, so we're going to go ahead and plug in our motherboard. Now, this should have a splitter on it. Let's take a look here. Yep, there's a CPU splitter. So you've got a main one that actually has 8 connectors, and then you've got another one that is actually split into 2. This motherboard only has one 4-pin connector, so all you have to do is locate the 4-pin connector that lines up with those holes and connect to it. And there's only one that will work, as you can see. It has to go in there. All right, let's see if we can get this out of the way. Once again, we're dealing with some monstrously long cables, guys, here, so bear with me. All right, and get that into place. And once again, guys, these systems are available everywhere and really cheap. In fact, I suspect that at $50 you could probably get these even cheaper if you just fished around a little bit. I grabbed the first one I saw when I came up with the idea for the video, but the truth is, I think you could get it quite a bit cheaper. And these are solid systems. So, all right. So we're going to go ahead and tuck that one away. Like I said, guys, we're going to come back in here and clean this up again here in just a little bit. All right. So we've got our RAM installed now. We actually have the motherboards in. We've got the power supply mounted tightly. Like I said, I may try to align that a tiny bit, but honestly, I don't care as long as it's functional. That's what we're curious about here. All right, let's go ahead and get our video card in. Now, on one of the HP Z420s, to release the back panel, you push down 2 little levers on the inside, and it rotates up a little lever on the inside that allows you to put peripherals in right here. So we're going to go ahead and take our video card. We're going to line it up. Oh, that's going to be perfect, guys. Look at that alignment. I want to show this to Stumpy here. Check that out. Look how that fits perfectly along the side of that. There's no pressure on those cables at all. It fits exactly where it needs to fit. So that is a very pleasant surprise. We're not going to argue with that. All right, got that in place. Now we're missing a port cover, and I happen to have another one here, so let's see if that'll fit. Yes, it will. All right, and then close this down. And you do not actually have to screw down anything, guys. That's one nice thing about this system. Once you've got that in place and that's locked, your card is not going anywhere. So that's one pretty cool thing. Okay, so we need to get some power up to that video card now. Fortunately, the PCI Express I've got connected in here, and it's 2 cables linked together. So that'll make this a little bit cleaner when we're actually cabling it up a bit. So it's going to go in right there, and it's going to go in right there, just like that. We'll take the cabling. We'll do a little tie back on this. Fortunately, it's flat cabling. That's kind of nice. And remember, try to keep any tension off of your connections here. You don't want this pulling or tugging against it in any way. All right, so we're going to do that. We'll tie it down right there. I'm getting kind of excited about this, guys. I have a feeling that this is going to be an acceptable gaming experience. That's all that really counts. You know what? We're going to try to use that little bay here again. I kind of like the positioning of that. It's making this very convenient. All right, put that through there and see if we can still attach it there. I think that if we get it in, look at that. Come on. There it is. We are clipped in place, guys. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Now, I'm going to leave the SATA connection to this DVD drive connected up here, because if I ever do want to put in a DVD drive, all I have to do is install one in one of the upper bays. So I'm going to leave that there, and then I don't have to worry about routing a new cable. Okay, so the next thing we're going to want to do is install our hard drives. Now, this is our primary hard drive right now. It's what I was telling you about. This is that 128 gig that is put into this case. Fortunately, this has got a perfect mounting caddy for these. Unfortunately, there's only one, which means that we're going to have to place the other drive somewhere creative, and that's what we're going to do. Okay, so we get this one in place. There we go. Now, what I have done of these in the past is used some like double-sided Velcro right here just to hold it in place. But guys, honestly, I'll get back to cleaning that up here shortly. What I'm probably going to do is just mount it right underneath this drive. There's really no reason not to get crazy with it. Excuse me, no reason to get all crazy with it, because that'll mount right there without a problem. So, all right. Yeah, that's probably what I'm going to do right there, guys. Or hell, I might even mount it right on top of it. I don't know yet. Yeah, we'll take a look here in a second. All right. But in the interim, let's go ahead and get our SATA cable. And I should have there we go. Right angle SATA cable right there. And we're going to run this down to, right now we've got the DVD drive in SATA 1. So we're going to move that off to SATA 2. And we may or may not ever use that. You know how that is. And then we're going to run this one. It's going to be SATA 0. Now, this board is 100% capable of doing RAID if you wanted to add in a few hard drives in a RAID configuration. But for what we're going to do, that's just kind of impractical. So we're not going to worry too much about that. All right. So I'm going to, no laughing here, guys. I'm going to go ahead and connect up the second SATA cable to our SATA 1. And then what I'm going to do is set this drive in place. No laughing. I will mount the drive permanently, I promise. It would have been nice if they had given me the option for a second 2.5-inch bay. That'd be great. But in the interim, we're just going to connect this up right here and set this in place until we're ready to go. Yeah, there we go. All right, so let's go ahead. Now we need to get some power up here to these drives. And as you can see, the one cable that is currently connected, this is actually kind of neat the way they did this. The one connection that's on here is the two SATA connections that we actually need for power, which is pretty cool. So what we're going to do is bring this up here. We're going to connect up this drive. No laughing. Well, I promise you I will mount this correctly. Don't worry. And there we go. And we're going to go ahead and power this drive. There we go. And as you can see, you can probably see why, while that's there, why I typically mount it to this bay, because then that sits in there very nicely and you can access it without a problem. So we are going to do that here shortly. So right now, you know what, guys? I'm not going to tie down this cable currently because we have to get that routed in there where we want it. So, but for right now, that'll work. Okay, guys, so at this point, we have all of our cabling in. We have our video card connected. Our power supply is connected up. We've got our RAM installed. Our processor and motherboard are in place. And both of our hard drives are in place. So at this point, cross your fingers, we should be able to boot. Now, I have not booted this client. I can tell you that now. I don't do anything without you guys because I want you to see exactly what I see. So what we're going to do is I'm going to pull Stumpy down here. And just like last time, guys, we're going to turn Stumpy around and aim him at the screen. By the way, you guys can see I'm actually looking at the HP systems over here. That's one of the ones that I got right there. I will have links to all this in the description for you. All right, there we go. Okay, let's get all wired up here, guys, and see if it's going to cooperate right off the bat. Any bets out there? I'm figuring 50-50 at best. Okay, power supply is currently off. Now, one thing about these HPs, guys, that you're going to want to keep an eye on too, when these come in, typically they are in an office environment. And your BIOS is set to auto power on as soon as you lose power. So drops power, comes back, turns the system right back on again. So you'll know that right away if you plug your system in and it automatically fires up. So, okay, we're going to go to HDMI. By the way, this has one HDMI and 3 display ports, if anybody ever wondered on a Vega 64. And there's the LAN cable. By the way, it is gigabit LAN. Another nice thing about this. Okay, guys, we are plugged in. We are on, and yes, see, as soon as I turned on the power, the system did come on. So let's keep an eye on the monitor here. Now, anytime you change a configuration on one of these HPs, and I mean RAM, video, anything, this boot cycle can take a little bit of time. And in some cases, you'll actually see it shut down and come back on, and shut down and come back on, shut down and come back on, before it'll actually come up. And as you can see, we have a boot menu. All right, let me go ahead and get I got to make sure my keyboard is actually connected here. And as you can see, we've got a system memory size, because obviously we changed that, which we knew is actually showing the 16 gigs. I think these came with 8 originally. So let's go ahead and see if we can get to a boot menu here. And we will go into the BIOS and see if everything else is reading correctly. It should be reading both drives too. And we want to make sure that it is booting off the correct hard drive. That is another big factor. All right, coming back up. There we go. We're going to go into the computer setup. There we go. And bam. Okay. All right, so you can see we did actually get booted up here. Let's make sure that we are showing both drives, and we are. SATA 0 is showing at the 128, and SATA 1 is the 2 terabyte Fang Zhang. Yeah, whatever. All right. So, in theory, guys, if these are booting correctly, and this is really the one that I'm curious about, and SATA 0 is set to boot up first, we could theoretically pull Legacy out of here, because SATA 0 is actually a UEFI drive. So I tell you what, let's do that real quick. Nah, you know what? Let's just see if it boots, because I am curious. All right, so we're going to boot it up and let her boot. Now, this should boot into Windows 10. Here we go. Well, we'll see what actually happens. You know how that is when you plan on something. So, okay. Here we go. Now, one thing to note on these also is, so we do have the memory size error. We're going to go ahead and save that. There we go. And we're going to boot. And as you can see, it is booting into Windows 10. Now, this is the Windows 10 that was on that game system. So I know it's a fully registered, fully licensed copy of Windows 10, which is really nice. Saves you a little money when you're doing this. So we know that we have our drives. We know that it's booting into Windows 10, and we know that it's going to work. That's what really counts. And I suspect, guys, once device drivers are loaded and all of that good stuff, that this is going to be a beast. Tell you what, let me finish the setup process. Be right back with you. And as you can see from Stumpy, it is off to the races. Guys, the installation of this thing didn't take long. You know, Windows updates typically take anywhere between an hour to 3 hours, depending on how it updates and when it updates and when your machine reboots and so on and so forth. So here's what we're going to do. We just built this machine in, what, half hour, give or take, using off-the-shelf stuff, under $200 for a decent gaming machine. So our first gaming experience on this new channel will be on this new machine, and that is how we're going to test it. So good or bad, we're going to see it on this machine, and it's coming soon. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Once again, links for all of this down in the description. Jump on there, pick it up. It's cheap. By the way, just to let everybody know, there are all the links that are down there are Amazon affiliate links. So if you do go on there and you buy something, I get a little teeny percentage of it. Doesn't cost you a dime more to do it, and it really helps out the channel. Or should I say channels? There you go. Have a great weekend, guys. Bye-bye.